On Saturday, today it will be the second day, and tomorrow the third day of the Democrats presenting their case against Tribulation Trump. And on Saturday, the Republicans will pick up there, and there'll be a break on Sunday, and they'll get back to work on Monday. I don't know if the Republicans have a full day of argument. I mean, they can argue and harangue. The process is probably what they'll do, but they don't have an argument. They don't have a case. They don't have any proof of innocence. They don't want witnesses. They don't have any exculpatory evidence or presentations to make. So I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do, and I don't see how they can fill 3 days. I don't see how the Republicans do it because they don't have anything to say. They just don't have an argument. Trump did it, and he's confessed that he's done it, and Mick Mulvaney has confessed. I don't know how they can manage 3 days, so we'll probably only use maybe a half a day, and they can sit down and rest their case, which I don't know how they're going to proceed with this. I do know this, and I think that is potentially the Democrats have presented such a compelling argument that it might convince some of these Republicans that this is historical. And when you're dealing with somebody like Trump, if this was the only thing that he had done, if there were no more skeletons in the closet, you could probably, close your eyes and vote to exonerate him. But the problem is with Trump, and I think most of these Republicans know, there is so much that's in the closet that has not come out because he's hidden it. He has stopped the flow of all documents. He stopped all persons from testifying. But ultimately, all this is going to come out. And it comes out a year from now when you discover that Trump and Mike Pence and Bill Barr were nothing more than common thieves in a swampland of just debauchery. And it's going to be demonstrated. You're going to hear Trump on tape in the Oval Office. If you think what Bill Clinton did with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office, or what Richard Nixon did with his tapes in the Oval Office, when you get the tapes and the transcript of Trump, and what I'm saying is that these Republicans know that there's a whole lot of stuff worse than Ukraine that's going to come out. In fact, they don't know whether or not they know that Giuliani is really the linchpin. It is Bolton. John Bolton is a fraud and a fake. And he may have something to say. And he did call the whole thing between the Ukraine setup and withholding of the millions of dollars that would do for the defense of Ukraine a drug deal, and Giuliani a hand grenade. But he's right about that. This will come to a full culmination when Giuliani is indicted and Giuliani has to testify. And all that's going to happen. All that's coming down the line. I mean, they may even vote to get rid of Trump after this segment. They very well could do it because they realize that they're going to be embarrassed if they let him stay in office. Trump is a maniacal fool. He's just going to get worse. Remember, it was the day after the Mueller report where he thought he was exonerated, and Bill Barr came out and claimed he was exonerated, that he called Zelensky. Even they know, Lindsey Graham, John Thune, Mitch McConnell, even they know, Murkowski and Collins and Gardner and Tillis, they know. They know if they exonerate, he's just gonna get worse because the boy is sick. The man is sick as hell, and they know it. And they know there's stuff that's going to come out that's going to be reported. It's going to break. There's skeletons in the closet on Trump that they're just going to keep, and so they may say, let's get rid of him now and stop the bleeding where we can. And the base who will pick up their AR-15s and start shooting north, but let's get it on. But I think that's important to, at least for us to discuss that. They're not protecting a decent man. They're protecting a thug, and they know it. So let's see what their arguments will be like. It's not probably going to move, but just a bit of haranguing is what they're going to do. And Trump is calling the shots. Trump is telling them what to say and how to say it, which is unbelievable. Anyway, Gerald Nadler got into a spat the other night with Pat Cipollone, and Justice Roberts had to step in to try to, and I thought it was very phony of Justice Roberts. He was reading. That wasn't a natural response that y'all ought to be nice to one another before the greatest deliberative body. The boy was reading from a statement that they'd already prepared. Yeah. Anyway, let's hit Gerald Nadler, because I thought he was pretty convincing yesterday as well. He is the chairman of the Senate, of the House Judiciary Committee.
As we tell this story, it is important to note that the facts before us are not in dispute. There are no close calls. The evidence shows that President Trump unlawfully withheld military assistance appropriated by Congress to aid our ally in order to extort that government into helping him with his re-election, then tried to cover it up when he got caught. One obstacle to Mr. Giuliani's work was Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch. A 33-year veteran of the Foreign Service, Ambassador Yovanovitch had partnered with Ukraine to root out the kind of corruption that would have allowed Mr. Giuliani's lies to flourish. In order to complete his mission, Mr. Giuliani first needed Ambassador Yovanovitch out of the way. And so in early 2019, Mr. Giuliani launched a public smear campaign against the ambassador, an effort that involved Mr. Giuliani's allies in Ukraine, the president's allies in the United States, and eventually President Trump himself.
So as I said, stay tuned, there's more to come. Ukraine is just one incident, and who knows what Putin will do, because Putin has got the goods on Trump. Trump bows down to nobody, not even his own father, but he bows down to Putin. Why? Why has he been paid such obeisance to Putin? Because Putin has got something on him that he doesn't want to be made public. I suspect that that is probably Lindsey Graham's homosexual activities, and I say that I believe that Lindsey Graham's a homosexual. I believe he's gay. He's not, and then I'll apologize. But I believe that there's a collection of information that Trump has been able to pull up on Lindsey Graham. And Lindsey Graham is fighting to keep that information about him in the closet. And that's why he's gone so ballistic for Trump. There's a lot of dirty dealing going on that's in this process. There's a lot of in the closet, backroom stuff that we don't know about that's influencing. People aren't really speaking. The only person I find speaking from their heart, and not that I'm in support of Adam Schiff, I don't support him, but I think that he's absent of like Devin Nunes, for instance. We only, and Matt Gaetz, those two, Devin Nunes in particular, who was meeting with Les Parnas, right? What's going to happen when Nancy Pelosi goes back to the Democrat caucus and Adam Schiff calls for Les Parnas to come testify before the Intelligence Committee, and Gerald Nadler calls for Les Parnas and Igor Furman to come testify before the Judiciary Committee. What's going to happen? Because that can happen as well. And more information will come out, and more people will be indicted. And then we're hearing Les Parnas talk about Trump Tower in Washington, D.C., that hotel is a cesspool of lizards and snakes and alligators that gather around the bar, and people who want to be seen and are seen, they're just down there drinking and drugging, and this other fellow from up Connecticut who was tweeting out that there was a surveillance on Maria Yovanovitch while she was in Ukraine, spying on her. Her computer shut off, her phone is shut off, her life is in danger. I mean, all this happening in the Trump Hotel there in Washington. This is a mess. This mess is a cesspool. This is a mess, and more to come. Listen, I got an article here that I want to have the engineer bring it up. Joe Scarborough wrote an article, and it was posted in the Washington Post today. Observing the behavior of Republican senators during President Trump's impeachment has shown just how craven the party of Lincoln has become. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's Republican from Kentucky declared that I'm not an impartial juror before solemnly swearing to do impartial justice. The Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham from South Carolina once declared Trump unfit for office, called for his exclusion from the Republican Party, and tweeted that the best way to make America great again was to tell Donald Trump to go to hell. But after Trump's election, Graham quickly fell in line and has likewise stated that I'm not trying to pretend to be a fair juror here. He also bragged that he would do everything in his power to make the impeachment proceedings die quickly and compared them to a lynching. While Senate leaders being shamed to themselves daily, most GOP senators are desperate to avoid votes that might require the smallest bit of political courage. But what do they have to fear? Far from facing an existential crisis, these politicians are fretting over votes that would be supported by an overwhelming number of citizens. Almost 7 out of 10 Americans want the Senate to call for more witnesses. 58% believe Trump abused the power of the presidency, and almost as many say he obstructed the investigation into his impeachment trial. A majority also believe that the 45 president should be removed from office. The fecklessness of these Trump rat tax lies in stark contrast to the courage of past Republicans who brought down Senator Joseph McCarthy, a Republican from Wisconsin, and President Richard Nixon. Even the fledgling French resistance eventually rose up to save Paris from Hitler's wrath. In his book, Smith recounts the incredible story of a Nazi general who risked his family's life by conspiring with General Dwight Eisenhower and the French underground to save the City of Lights. Such heroism is neither expected nor required of Republican senators sitting through Trump's impeachment proceedings. All America demands is a fair trial, an impartial jury, and the calling of relevant witnesses. If McConnell can't deliver on these aspirational values, then his heart may be American, but his political soul belongs to a bombastic, intemperate buffoon. Who shall we now look to for the liberation of the Republican Party? Pretty powerful and scorching writing of Joe Scarborough and an observation of what we see going on as this proceed goes forward. I'm going to take a break, everybody, and I'll be back with more of the Manning Report and some announcements, and as we prepare to enter into a season that can be very dark going forward. And I sense that no matter which way this trial ends, we're going to go into a dark and depressive economic season. So get your ducks in a row and your house in order. I'll be right back. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.